everybody, and welcome to the light side
of the paranormal.
We welcome you back. Today we are filming outside, so bear with us. We have our dogs with us, so there might be some bumping of the camera and you might hear some dog noises or some outside noises. Both of our lives are a little jumbled right now. Eventually we will have a filming location that probably stays consistent, but as for now, it's gonna be all over the place. So, thank you for joining us. Today we are talking about Ouija boards.
I should also comment that there are many different ways to pronounce this word. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that the camera's moving a lot.
We got a big dog under here under this table.
So some people say Ouija boards. When I was younger, I called it a Ouija board. Since I've been reading more about it and just seeing the spelling, I've started calling it Ouija board because that's kind of how it's spelled. So I'm probably going to say it a few different times in a few different ways throughout this video.
So we're going to be going over the history of the Ouija board, scientific view on it, the religious view on it, the rules and the dangers. And then we will talk about our encounters with Ouija boards.
So instead of the what happened to you that's paranormal this week, we're going to make it what's happened to you in terms of using a Ouija board in the past.
Yes. So I will start us off with a little bit of history. The word Ouija board is the patent name. So they are called spirit boards or talking boards. And I'm looking down because I'm reading because I have a million notes here. So a spirit board or a talking board is essentially a board that has the listen to the birds.
I know, like
that has the alphabet on it. It will have a yes and a no, and it will have the word goodbye, which is how you close out your session. Sometimes it has hello, not all of them do. Way back in the 1800s, it was considered a parlor game, so it was just a fun game that people got together and played like you would any other game, charades or whatever they did back then. And in 1890 it was created, and the Ouija board was created and patented by Elijah Bond. But spirit boards and talking boards date back to 1100 AD in China, Greece, Rome, India, Europe. So it was a divination tool way back when.
Which is so crazy. Like, that is so long ago.
Yeah.
That people have been doing this.
Yeah. In like the early 1900s. Even earlier than that, I think. Seances and table tipping and talking boards and automatic writing, all of these things were very common to do on a Saturday night. Like, that was like the normal thing, was to have a seance. It wasn't really associated with anything bad until later, but that was at a time when death before the age of 50 was really common. So children dying, babies dying of disease, a lot of mothers dying in childbirth, men dying in the war. It was a way to provide solace for family members who were left behind. And it was a very normal thing to get together and have a seance.
Which, again, is so crazy to think about, yeah.
And now it's considered, you know, you're opening the gates of hell. Like, why would you do that?
So, as Jenna mentioned, the man that patented the board was called Elijah Bond, which happened in 1980, and can you believe it was sold for only $1.50? So cheap. But I guess, costs were different back then too.
Yeah.
So Elijah sat down with the medium to play the board, and he asked the board what it wanted to be called, and it spelled out Ouija. When they asked the board what that word meant, it said that it meant good luck in Egyptian. While they were conducting this session and asking the board what it wanted to be called and all that, the medium was actually wearing a locket with the name Ouija on it, which was the name of an author. So it said that it could possibly be that Elijah picked up on that, seeing that name, and had just kind of subconsciously spelled that out on the board very closely. Ouija, very close. So when he decided, okay, I want to patent this, he needed to go through a patent officer. But the officer didn't want to give him the patent for it unless he was able to prove that it was real. So they sat down to play, and the board had spelled out the officer's first, middle, and last name fully, without error, and it said that Elijah apparently didn't know his full name, so that was kind of a way to prove it.
Unless, I mean, you could argue unless he did
Like maybe
know
he did.
it, and that was his way to persuade him to get his way. Who knows?
Yeah.
But interesting.
When Elijah was finally able to release the board to the public, he thought maybe it'd be a little bit much to tell them that the board told me to name it this, so his justification for the name was just saying it meant Ouija. So oui is yes in French, and ja is yes in German, so that was a lot more accepted.
Holy birds.
Yeah, we are active today. So once the boards became more and more popular, people actually stopped using, well, I shouldn't say stopped. People less and less were using the term spirit board or divination board, and they just started calling all spirit boards Ouija boards. Kind of like how all tissues are called Kleenex. It's just a brand that became really familiar and really popular, and therefore took over the language there. So once production started, a man named William Fuld took over, and
Holy
they're
moly.
so loud.
Just like this
This
clan
is starting
of...
to become really
I know.
eerie,
It's
actually.
like a scene from The Birds.
They're
Maybe
all
I
just
should,
gathering in this tree beside Jenna's house. Oh. Weird. Oh my gosh, they're actually all coming into your yard now when we're talking about Ouija boards.
Yeah. Like, they're just so loud we can barely talk.
Oh my god, and look at this giant crow.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful. Hello. Oh my god.
Like, this is so interesting. Oh my god, they're on top.
They're right above
This
us,
is
guys.
wild.
They're right above us.
Oh my god.
Look at him. He's like, hello, I'm the star of the show. These are my friends.
This is like such a scene from Hitchcock's The Birds.
Oh, and they're gone. Wow.
God, was that a warning?
It was said that he took all the credit for the creation of the Ouija board, but later he denied that. Interestingly enough, Fuld was playing with the board and it told him to build a new Ouija board factory. And then later, he actually fell off of the roof of that factory and died in 1927. So interesting. Do you think that that was prophetic?
It's just weird. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know what to think of that. I mean, coincidence or not,
Very
he literally
interesting.
died by falling off the roof of a Ouija board factory that the Ouija board told him to make.
Yeah, like, what?
So in 1966, Parker Brothers bought Ouija, and 1 year later, 2 million boards were sold. That year, they outsold Monopoly, which is wild to me.
That's a hugely popular game.
Yeah. And then in 1991, Hasbro bought it. And this floors me that Hasbro on the box recommends it for 8 years or older.
8.
Like, that's wild. So up until this, in 1973, there was a game changer. So up until that point, it wasn't seen as very threatening. It was seen as fun and you are connecting with the other side. It was a parlor game. It was something to do on a Saturday night until 1973 and the movie The Exorcist came out. And that changed so many people's minds on it.
There was
And-
hardly anyone that had never seen The Exorcist at that time.
Yeah, or heard about it.
Yeah.
And people were getting sick in the theaters. And
Oh my gosh, I didn't
yeah,
know that.
People were fainting, people were
What?
throwing up and stuff. Yeah, it was like a really scary movie in its time. I mean, it still is. But, so that was the game changer at that point. Everything changed and it was seen as like opening the gates of hell. Up until that point, there was only like a handful, I mean, a handful is still a handful, of situations where people are like, the Ouija board made me do it. So, I mean, that's still sketchy. But
Yeah.
like, after that, after The Exorcist came out, it changed everything. It was like widely seen in movies and stories and stuff as like the root cause of evil in a lot of situations and stuff. And yeah, it's very different now because of what that movie started. So, and now there's a lot more accounts of possession and like bad things happening when you use the board, and so on and so forth. Okay, so I'm just going to read a little snippet from this article that I found, which was really interesting. So before the whole Exorcist came out, there were a couple accounts of situations where the Ouija board was to blame, or said to be to blame. It says in 1921, the New York Times reported that a Chicago woman being sent to a psychiatric hospital tried to explain to the doctors that she wasn't experiencing mania, but that the Ouija board spirits had told her to leave her mother's dead body in the living room for 15 days before burying her in the backyard. In 1930, newspaper readers read of the accounts of two women in Buffalo, New York, who had murdered another woman, supposedly on the encouragement of a Ouija board message. In 1941, a 23-year-old gas station attendant from New Jersey told the New York Times that he joined the army because the Ouija board told him to. And in 1958, a Connecticut court decided not to honor the Ouija board will of Mrs. Helen Doe Peck, who left only $1,000 to two former servants and an insane $152,000 to Mr. John Gale Forbes, a lucky but bodiless spirit who had contacted her via the Ouija board. So they discounted that. They said that that wasn't going to be legit, that she had left...
He wasn't alive.
No, she left a large portion in her will to a spirit that had contacted her through the Ouija board, so that is very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I find this so especially interesting because the fact that they're doing this, like especially with the woman that didn't bury her mom for that long, like what would be, like yes, you're obeying the Ouija board, but was there a consequence? Like I wonder if it was do this or else this,
yeah, maybe.
You know, like cause why?
What
like,
was the reasoning? Yeah.
If a board told me to do that, I'd be like, no, I'm gonna go bury my mom. Like you know what I mean? So how did that work? But maybe it was just a different time. They just kind of believed everything. Like I'm not sure, but I just find that really interesting.
Oh, okay, I'm thinking that she murdered her mom. She did not. The mother just died, I guess. I was thinking that they had said murder her and leave her in a living room for 15 days, but I don't think that's what happened.
Yeah, I do find it really interesting, like, to look at both sides of it, like...
Yeah, scientific and religious side.
Yeah, because they're so vastly different.
Yes.
So, I mean, you'll be able, like, everyone that's watching this video can relate in some way because we're going to cover all the different beliefs around the Ouija board.
So if we look at it from a scientific standpoint, scientists as early as 1853 and as recent as like 2012, and I'm sure more recent, have investigated and done studies on what the credibility of this board is. As a scientific point of view, they say that the planchette is being moved unconsciously. So people are not aware that they are doing it, but it's being done by the players. Although the yes and no answers tend to be like 15% more accurate when using the board, which is very interesting.
Very.
Because you think if you don't know the answer, you don't know the answer. It's not subconsciously trapped in your brain. It's a yes or no question. Train. In 1927, a journal said that it was just a con to part fools from their money. And in the 70s, users were described as cult members, which was scrutinized later, but yeah.
So the religious take on it, I guess. So Christian denominations were saying that you're definitely speaking with demons if you're using a Ouija board.
Yeah, like there was no in between.
Yeah.
It's like you're speaking with demons.
Yeah. But psychic abilities, mediumship, any divination tools are considered tools of the devil, basically.
Yeah, witchcraft and like temptations from the devil and yeah.
There were multiple calls for them to be banned because they were thinking that demonic possession was because people were using Ouija boards. So they were just trying to get them banned altogether. In New Mexico in 2001, which wasn't that long ago, Ouija boards, Disney's Snow White, and Harry Potter books were all burned because they were absolutely believing they were symbols of witchcraft. So today it's commonly believed that using a Ouija board is opening a door to evil spirits, and it's more of like a forbidden kind of game to play. It's more of a dare type of thing. It's not really like, hey, it's Saturday, let's go play with the Ouija
like
board. Yeah.
Would you recommend people play?
No.
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 Yeah. As for ourselves, or I should say as for myself, my belief is that I would never recommend anybody use a board.
The risks are too high.
Yeah, the stakes are too high. I mean, it's like saying, I mean, this is taken a dark turn, but it's like saying drinking when you're pregnant might really mess up your child. Why even take the risk? How badly do you need that alcohol?
Yeah.
Right? So like, why take the risk?
Sorry, my dog's drinking.
How badly do you need to connect to something else? You really have no idea who you're connecting to. Once you start it, you don't have a whole lot of control over the situation. So you have no control over who you're speaking with. It's essentially, in my eyes, it's an invitation. As soon as you grab that board, as soon as you put your hands on it, it's an open invitation. So why risk it?
Like anything could happen.
Yeah.
You could have a very normal session, but you could also have a horribly awful session. So like, why take the risk?
Yeah.
I can definitely understand the temptation surrounding wanting to try it. I do find it really interesting. I loved studying this and getting more information about it. I do find it very interesting, but bringing it back, not recommended, and I personally wouldn't use a Ouija board again. I have in the past, especially as a small child, which we'll get into later, but yeah, as someone that knows more now and knows better, I would not risk it.
A risk to it is that they're recommending it for kids 8 years and up. Those are people who don't know what they're doing.
Yes.
They don't know what they're getting into. They're
It's
easy.
not like...
It's very easy to be manipulated.
They'll believe anything that the board tells them.
Right. Yeah, and
they probably wouldn't take the necessary precautions either, which
Exactly.
we'll get into next.
Yeah.
So speaking of precautions,
Yeah.
so here are the rules. So we're not telling you to go and use a Ouija board right now, but just here are some of the rules that are just said based on people's bad experiences, trying to prevent those experiences, and then the other ones are actually found on the box.
We don't condone unsafe sex, just like we don't condone the use of a Ouija board, but we will hand you the rules like handing you a condom. If you're gonna do it right.
Do it safe. Be safe. Firstly, number one rule, never taunt or insult a spirit that you're speaking to. Sometimes people, when they're not getting activity or when they're not getting answers that they want, they'll try and like call the spirit a coward or something like that in hopes that they'll give them a bigger sign of their presence or a bigger answer, and that is not the right way to go about doing it, because you'll just pee them right off and bad things will happen. So just don't do that.
Terrible things could happen.
Never play alone. This is a rule that's on the box. It is one of the number one rules. You definitely don't want to be playing alone because you are just completely connected, you and them. That's it. There's nobody else.
I find it interesting, like on the board, that they have rules like this that...
And yet it's just a game.
Yeah,
right? So why would they do that?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
They know there's
Spooky.
something serious behind it. Yeah.
Fishy. Never play it at home. Never play it in your home, because everything that you're speaking to is now invited into your space, into your home, and you can't be... Athena. Okay. And you can never be totally certain if they've left your home once you close out that session. So go to outside somewhere, I don't know. Assign a leader or talker, someone that's going to ask all the questions, and then the rest of you just kind of participate with your fingers on the planchette.
planchette.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Oui,
On la planchette. Always say goodbye. That is, again, a rule that's on the box.
Yeah, I think like the main two rules would be like don't play alone and never forget to say goodbye. People get freaked out. They throw it all back in the box, throw it in a closet. It's still open. Days later, it's still an open invitation. Unless you are using your control, like as scared as you might be, say goodbye. Close it out, because that is one of the biggest mistakes that is made. Sorry.
Don't leave the planchette, I'll say it in an English way, on the board, because again, it's not properly closed out. So when you're looking to dispose of the board, if you've had, you know, a bad thing happen with it, you're like, I don't even want to donate this, I don't even want to throw it in the garbage, I want to completely destroy it. People often think that they want to burn it to destroy it, but that's actually one of the worst things you can do, because you're just, everything that was connected to that board is now open in your space.
Yeah, burning is like a release, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you're releasing that into your space. So don't do that. It's said that the proper way to dispose of a board is to cut it into 7 pieces and bury it and sprinkle holy water on it. And then the planchette, you want to bury that separately and put holy water on it as well. Or if you don't believe in holy water, you could put really good positive energy, maybe some type of a protection enchantment, something to really, like, I don't know, to
Like your own holy water.
yeah, like your own version of that.
Yeah.
you can do that too, but you definitely don't want to bury them together.
I mean, lots of people say just throw it out, but I mean, do you want somebody to find it? I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how serious you want to take it. Like, I've looked up ways to destroy them too. It's so many different ways to do it. I mean, just don't have one.
Yeah.
Don't buy it, and then you don't have to have the struggle and the burden of trying to get rid of it.
Yeah. So never play in a weakened state.
I definitely thought that said never play on a weekend.
Never play on a Saturday like everyone else used to do. In a weakened state. So
Who's weak? We're like, I gotta know the answers.
no. Like if you're depressed,
drunk or something. Oh, okay.
yeah, like if you're depressed, if you're sick, if you're exhausted. But one that people don't often think of, that Jenna did think of, is drunk.
Inebriated.
Actually, yeah, drunk or high or something, where you're not in your right mind, you're not in your right state. Because you're actually more vulnerable that way for possession or for just a bad time. Never play in a cemetery. I think that this rule is actually found on some boxes, but not all boxes. I'm not actually sure why that is. Just don't do that, because apparently you're not supposed to.
Yeah, interesting.
Never trust someone that you're talking to through the board, like a spirit or a demon or something. Never trust what they say. Never trust who they tell you they are. Because they lie, and that's one of the ways that they'll try to get closer to you, try and gain your trust, and then, I don't know, bad.
Yeah, bad.
Bad. Don't do that. Yeah, never ask questions that you don't actually want the answer to, like, when am I going to die? When are my loved ones going to die? How am I going to die? You know, questions like that. Don't even start with that, because you may get an answer that's extremely troubling to you. I mean, it could be a lie, but just don't even mess with that.
Yeah.
Never play with or try to contact a demonic spirit that you have heard about before, because some of them, like, are definitely real.
They're just waiting for you to buy a Ouija board.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, because some of them actually, like, reside in Ouija boards specifically, and they seek them out, and don't purposely invite them into your session, because you are just asking for it at that point.
They can take over your board so that once that's done, you'll never connect with anybody else other than them.
It's kind of like they possess the board.
Yeah, so you put that board, you close out your session, you put that board away, you pick up that board a month later. They're the only ones that will talk to you through that board, and they'll pretend to be your loved one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's my grandma. No, it's not.
Yeah.
So bad. Now, as I had mentioned before, some of these rules are based off of other people's bad experiences in hopes that you won't have a bad experience. So I think that some of the ones I'm about to talk about are things that have happened to other people. So who knows if it's actually a real rule, but just keep it in mind. When you're not playing with it, don't actually keep it in mind. It's said that if the planchette goes to the four corners of the board, it's something evil. If it's doing figure eights, then it means that the spirit is trying to take control of your board. If a countdown occurs, whether it's by numbers, by letters of the alphabet, close out the session, completely discontinue talking to that spirit because it's actually trying to get out of the board and into your space. After you've closed out your session, so you say goodbye and then the planchette should move to goodbye. Don't close it out before it actually moves to goodbye as well. So after that, you're just going to want to place the board upside down and then store the planchette in your cloth like I had mentioned earlier. And those are the rules of the Ouija board that you're not going to play, that you probably won't need. But it's interesting. It's interesting to read about.
Yeah.
And know about.
Some of the dangers associated with this are pretty common sense, but so obviously a big danger is finding out things you don't want to know about. If you're asking questions you don't want to know the answer to, or just generally finding out stuff you don't want to know. Also that it opens a door. It opens a door that you might not be able to close. It can open a door in your home if you're doing it in your home or wherever you are, or in you that you cannot close. It's said that most of the spirits that use the boards are low-level beings. I feel like your family members probably wouldn't connect with you through the board because they don't have to. They're with you every single day. So they probably know the risks of the board and they're not getting involved in that, but it's said to be low-level beings and they will pretend to be your loved ones to gain your trust or to scare you and gain control of the situation. Also, you can become addicted or dependent on the board, which can throw a huge kink in your life, and yeah, like people become dependent, and a lot of times, well, sometimes the people who become dependent are the people who slowly become oppressed. And I mean, if you become addicted, it's probably because you're talking to one spirit, and that one spirit is using you as a way to leave the board.
I feel like it's very common for people to become addicted to any tools of divination. Like when I do tarot for other people, I do have some individuals that every single thing that's happening in their life they want to know about, and they're back all the time. They need to know every single answer, but you need to allow life to happen sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And it can take over your life, and unfortunately with a Ouija board it's in a really negative way too.
Yeah, even after you've closed up the session, stuff can happen. Your home or wherever, you can experience hauntings. Stuff can be moved or thrown, or like even after the session is over. It doesn't end once you end your session with the Ouija board. And also, I mean, the risk of possession is there, and it's said that people who don't take it seriously are most at risk because they're oblivious and they're skeptic, and I mean, you would jump on somebody who's not expecting you, right? So
yep, that's a really good way to put it.
Those are the dangers.
The dangers. So instead of what happened to you this week, it's what has happened to you in terms of using a Ouija board.
Yeah. So
Jenna and I have both used Ouija boards in the past, but have no longer been using them in present day.
Yeah.
Well, I actually used Ouija boards a lot between the ages of 7 and 12.
That's so young.
I know.
It's terrifying. If my kids were using that at the holy crap.
I know. Yeah. I use them a lot between those times, but I have 2 times that I would like to share with you because they're the 2 times that I can actually remember what happened. I had 3 cousins that were girls that I was super, super close to. They were sisters. I was kind of like the adopted sister in a way. Like when we'd get together, we were awesome. But two of the sisters were much older. I think they were about 5 years older, and then one of the sisters was the same age as me. So when the older sister became, I don't know, like a preteen, she acquired a Ouija board, and she would keep it in their board games cupboard at their house. But there was a lock on the board games cupboard. I don't know why, actually. Now that I'm saying it out loud, that's kind of weird. But there was. So
gotta lock up those board games.
Those crazy kids. But or maybe they knew that, like, maybe her parents knew the dangers of the Ouija board.
Why have it? Holy shit. Okay.
I don't know. That's
I have so
just
many
a
questions.
weird side note.
So many unanswered questions.
So one day, everyone was gone. Her parents were at work, and the older sisters were out with their friends, so it was just me and the younger sister. We're going to call her Marissa. So Marissa and I were at home, well, at her home, and we noticed the board game cupboard was unlocked, and it was ajar. So we thought, oh my gosh, let's go play with the Ouija board. Because it was like this spooky, cool thing that her sisters were doing, and we thought, we want to do that too, because we're cool.
Question. Was it the sisters' board, or was it the parents' board?
I don't know. The sisters were playing with it a lot, but it very well could have been the parents' board.
Like, if the parents bought it, maybe they were like, we lock this up when we're not using it.
That very well could be.
Maybe it was up on a high shelf. They thought their kids
it
didn't
was
know
really
it
high.
was there.
We had to climb on a deep freezer to get to it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm picking up on that.
Yeah, it's like, So her basement was really spooky because most basements are, so we decided to play in the basement. So we got all set up. We had like candles.
You guys,
I know, like, I was such a weird child.
Brave children.
But children often don't think of any of the dangers behind it. They think that it's just a fun,
exciting.
Cool thing, and if they get contact, then it's extra exciting.
Especially then.
Yeah, right?
Now it's more widely known as, like, a risk.
Yeah.
It wasn't then. It was fun.
It was totally fun.
Yeah.
We're talking very early 90s, right?
Yeah.
So it was just a different time. But, so we get started, and we said, are you a girl or a boy? And it said girl. And we said, how old are you? And she said, 5. And we said, are you nice? And she said, yes. And then we said, are you dead? And she said, yes. And then we said, how did you die? And she spelled out daddy. And then we said, how did he kill you? And she said, the water. So we're thinking that maybe she was drowned. And then there was like this weird shift. And we decided, okay, now this is a scary thing. This isn't a fun thing. So we said, okay, let's close up.
Don't ask questions you don't want the answers to.
I know, yeah. But you're kids. So yeah, we said, you know what, this is scary. I don't want to do this anymore. So rather than properly closing out the session, we just threw it in the box. But we were still curious. So we wanted to be not scared and still play with it. So we just brought it upstairs where there was light and there was just a better energy, basically. So we sat right in front of her picture window in her living room on her floor. It was a beautiful home. Lots of light coming through that nice window, so we felt safer. And so we said, hello, are you still there? And it just went to no. And we said, is this who we were talking to before? No. Are you good? No. Basically just asking all these questions, and it just kept saying no, 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 no. And I kept telling my cousin, I said, if you've been moving the planchette this whole time, like, can you stop saying no because it's not fun? And she said, I'm not saying no, I thought you were saying no. Because we had this thing where, like, we always thought that it was the other person moving
that's part of it, yeah.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, we hear, like, a big crash sound. And we couldn't figure out what it was. We looked up, and there was this beautiful crystal chandelier in her living room. and it was swinging around in a circle like this, right above the board, okay? And it was swinging, and then it swung bigger and bigger,
oh my God,
to the point that we were worried that it was actually going to come off of the ceiling and come down on us. We were children underneath this big thing.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure that we properly said goodbye and closed out the session. I think that we just got scared, threw it in the box, put it back in the cupboard that it was in, and never played it again after that. And so, terrifying. But interestingly enough, I recently connected with this cousin of mine, and I said, "Oh, Marissa, do you remember this and this and this when we played with the Ouija board?" She said, "We've never played with the Ouija board." She has no recollection of any of the times. And we played lots together. No idea.
that's weird.
And I know that it wasn't a dream. I think that she was so scared that her brain just blocked it right out. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Those were the 2/1 encounters where some of those events really stuck out to me. So that's a story that I wanted to share with you.
Oh.
What do you think?
Yeah, that's something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
Okay, so I only ever played with it one time. I don't know, I have a very hard time knowing at what age I did what. I'm gonna say maybe I was like 11, let's say. I was at my cousin's place. Cousins, it's always cousins.
I know.
I was at my cousin's place, who lived out of town, and our parents were getting together to move my grandma. So they had left us alone. So it was me, I'm gonna say maybe 11, my cousin who might have been like 15 at the time, and another cousin of mine. So if she's a girl, another cousin, a guy, I'm gonna say he was probably about 13. Again, I have no concept of age whatsoever, so it's a guess. I had no idea what a Ouija board was. And she was like, "Oh, let's play the Ouija board." And her and my other cousin knew what it was, and they were like, "Oh yeah, let's do it." And I was like, "What's that?" And I think they were like, "Oh, you talk to dead people, you talk to spirits." And I remember being like, "Fuck no, I don't want to play this at all."
Yeah.
I was terrified. And they were like pressuring me into playing, and like, "Oh, come on, don't be such a baby." More so my guy cousin, because he was being a big jerk. And so I like reluctantly played. It was evening, and we were upstairs in the living room. She just pulled it out and slapped on the coffee table and kind of told us what to do. And so we're doing it, and it was moving, and I don't remember the questions that were asked, because it was probably like she probably tried to start it with like being serious, but then my guy cousin was like, "Will Jenna's fish be dead when she goes home tomorrow night?" And he'd be like, and he would move it to yes. And I was like almost in tears. I'm like, "You're such a jerk." He was like so mean to me.
Oh my god.
He probably doesn't remember this at all. Actually, if they watch this, it would be interesting to see if they remember this, and to see if what they remember is the same as what I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like he would tease me and bug me a lot, but so he was moving it a lot, and she would be like, "Stop doing that!" Like she wanted to be serious about it. So we kind of farted around with it for a while, and then eventually, I don't think anything happened where we were like, "This is scary." I think we were just like, "Oh, enough." I think she was kind of annoyed that he was teasing me and was like, "Okay, we're done with this." And she put it away. We never said goodbye or anything. And she put it away. So then the phone rang, and she answered it, and it was her friend. And so good old landline with like the long cord, walking around talking to her friend. And then she got a call waiting. So she checked the other call, and it was like dead air. She was like, "Hello, hello." Nobody was there, so she hung up. So they're talking again. It happened again. She answered it. Nobody was there. And then I think it happened a third time, and we could hear it because she was like, "Come here, guys." So we were all listening, and we could hear something. It sounded like movement or something. And she had said, "I wonder," because my grandmother was older. She was like, "I wonder if Graham was trying to call us." And because sometimes she would do that. was like, I don't know. And we heard a bang, a crash kind of over the phone, which we heard in the basement.
Oh!
Through the same thing, yeah. So we were like, oh shit. So she hung up the phone. It's like said bye to her friend and hung up the phone. So we, the three of us, stood at the top of the stairs like, you go downstairs. No, you go downstairs. So my cousin, who is the boy, we were like, no, you're the man, off you go. So he went down. He was mad at us that we sent him down. So her and I like stood at the top of the stairs like, and he went down. He was like, there's nothing down here. So we all went down to check it out, and in their rec room downstairs, which was finished, my aunt and uncle were both teachers. So they had like stacks of all their teaching stuff, books and papers and stuff that they were grading. And the stuff was everywhere, like all over the floor and stuff, like scattered around. And the phone that was downstairs, if I remember correctly, was off the hook.
Weird.
So, but your home, I don't think would call your own home? Unless there was a phone off the hook and it was like... But you shouldn't be able to have a phone call. Like, well, I don't know how that
there's different
happened,
phone
but...
lines too, like...
Yeah.
Maybe it was sort of like you know, you'll press, like, in some cases, flash, and it'll go to the next line.
Right. So
maybe it was something like that.
I don't know what happened. It was like an old, just like...
Right.
Pick up and dial kind of phone. It was off the hook.
Weird.
And there was stuff everywhere. And I think she had said, oh, maybe it was just the dog. The dog had seizures. It was a dog that had seizures in the past, so she had thought maybe it had just had a seizure and knocked over a bunch of stuff and knocked the phone off the hook. Even still, after we played the Ouija board, the dog has a seizure. Like, we were freaked out.
Yeah.
So we hung up the phone. There was stuff everywhere. It was a mess. The dog was downstairs. He was acting different. And we were totally freaked out. We called our parents, like, when are you coming home? Because we were scared. And anyway, they ended up coming home. But we've never talked about it since then.
Wow.
But we very rarely get together. But anyway, yeah, that's my story. It was interesting. Like, we were freaked out. There was loud crashes. Stuff was everywhere. The phone was off the hook and calling us upstairs. So
I'd be really interested to see if they remember it.
Yeah.
Just like my cousin's situation.
Yeah. But ever since then, I kind of always was a little bit freaked out about their house. Not freaked out, I don't know what it was. It just felt a little uneasy. Maybe, I don't know, it just influenced me to feel like that, or if there was something that made me feel like that. I don't know. Interesting.
That's so neat. Like, I can't believe with the whole, like, the phone call and then the bang and you heard it through the phone.
Yeah,
like,
that was enough for me to be like, never again.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right? So, yeah.
Well, we hope that you guys enjoyed our little chit-chat and also all this information about Ouija boards.
We hope this was informative and fun.
Comment down below if you've ever had any experiences with Ouija boards.
If it's a long story, email us and we can read it.
Which is in the description.
Yeah. Remember that if you like our content, to like and subscribe so that you can be notified for new content in the future when we post.
And turn on your little bell.
Yeah. So thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you in the next one.
And be sure to live your life with love and light. We'll see you later. I think my dog farted or something.
Athena!
Oh my god.
Mess up my garden.
I hope she didn't poop in your garden. It smells like a poop.
It does smell like a poop.
Oh my god.
In the same area.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
Holy fuck.
Oh my god, it's so bad. You'll have to edit this out. Oh my god.
Dog sitting.
Oh my god.
Real talk.
Oh. I'm gonna be the star? She wants to be. Look at this. She's just, oh my god.
Oh my god.
Okay.